Morning to all of you. I am Dr. D.G. Shahane, Department of English, SMSMP Mahavidyalaya, Natibute. Today we are going to discuss the poem A Hot Noon in Malabar, written by Kamla Das. Friends, at the beginning, I would like to give you the information about the life and work of Kamla Das. Kamla Das is one of the three most significant Indian poets writing in English. The other two are Nissim Ezekiel and A.K. Ramanujan. Her poetry is all about herself, about her intensely felt desire for love, for emotional involvement, and her failure to achieve such a relationship. Hence, a knowledge of her life and personality is essential for an understanding of her poetry. Mrs. Kamla Das, her maiden name was Madhavi Kutti, was born at Puniyarkulam in Malabar, in Kerala, in 1934. Both her parents were poets, and so poetry was in her blood, so to say. She was educated mainly at home. It seems that her grandmother showered a lot of love and affection on the growing child, and she is often remembered in her poetry as in the present poem Hot Noon in Malabar, and another poem is My Grandmother's House. She looks back to her happy days in her company with nostalgia and yearning. Kamla Das' truthful writings found herself amid a lot of controversies. She is a bilingual poetess. She wrote both in English and Malayalam. Her honest portrayal about the nature of women and their hidden sexual desires made her the target of much ridicule and criticism. Her iconoclastic writing stood her apart from the other contemporary writers. She very honestly portrayed aspects belong to love, marriage, betrayal, and the consequent anguish associated with it. She is a poet of the confessional mood. Her poetry records the feminine psyche and the deep buried emotions. The nostalgia evoked by her lines creates a tender feeling which is truly genuine. The various awards conferred upon her include Sahitya Academy Award, the Asian Poetry Prize, the Kent Award, the Weiler Award. Her name was shortlisted for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1984. During her latter years, she accepted the Islam religion and was known as Kamla Suraya. Although she never liked to be called a feminist, she spoke on behalf of the oppressed women. Her husband is not unkind to her. Indeed, he has been a good friend to her and has allowed her every freedom. But as she herself tells us, it is love which she craves for and not freedom. The sharp story of her life, of the psychological traumas she suffered, is narrated in her autobiography, My Story. Similarly, autobiographical is the short prose piece entitled I Study All Men. I Had, published in Illustrated Weekly of India in 1971. Happy or unhappy, Kamala Das continues to live with her husband and continues to write both prose and poetry, both in English and Malayalam. Now, friends, we should take into consideration her poetic output. Her poetic output in English is rather thin. It consists merely of sheer, slender volumes. Summer in Calcutta, which was published in 1965. Next one in Descendants, published in 1967. The Old Playhouse and Other Poems, published in 1973. So this is the information about life and work of Kamala Das. Here the information about her personal life as well as the literary career ends. Thank you for listening me patiently. Now friends, it's a time to take into consideration the poem which is entitled here as A Hot Noon in Malabar, written by herself. Now I would like to analyze this poem. What kind of thoughts, ideas, her inner feelings expressed through the medium of this present poem, we are going to take into consideration here. Friends, the poem A Hot Noon in Malabar was published in Summer in Calcutta in 1965. It also expresses her nostalgic yearnings for her happy childhood and for her family house in Malabar. She herself writes, From every city I have lived, I have remembered the noons in Malabar with an ache growing inside me, a homesickness. The poetess recalls some of her experiences in her home in Malabar. She thinks of the hot time when all sorts of persons used to pass her home and to pause and to stop there in order to sell the wares which they carried from place to place. She first thinks of the beggars who used to come to her house to beg alms in their characteristic voices, expressive of their discontent with life and their need for charity. Now, friends, here is the original poem which I would like to read, and then I will explain the poem in detail in front of you. This is a noon for beggars with whining voices, a noon for men who come from hills with parrots in cage and fortune cards, all stained with time, for brown Kurua girls with old eyes who read palm in light sing-song voices, for bangle sailors who spread on the cool black floor those red and green and blue bangles, all covered with the dust of roads. Miles grow cracks on the hills so that when they clambered up our porch, the noise was grating. Strange. This is a noon for strangers who part the window drapes and peer in, their hot eyes brimming with the sun, not seeing a thing in shadowy rooms, and turn away and look so yearningly at the brick-ledge well. This is a known for strangers with mistrust in their eyes, dark, silent ones who rarely speak at all, so that when they speak, their voices run wild like jungle voices. Yes, this is a known for wild men, wild thoughts, wild love. To be here far away is torture, wild feet stirring up the dust. This hot noon at my home in Malabar, and I so far away. Friends, this poem ends here, and now I want to discuss the poem with you. I mean, explain the poem with you. Actually, the poetess thinks of the hot noon time when all sorts of persons used to pass her home and to pause and to stop there in order to sell the wares which they carried from place to place. She first thinks of the beggars who used to come to her house to beg alms in their characteristic voices, expressive of their discontent with life and their need for charity. Then she thinks of the men who came from the hills with parrots in a cage and fortune cards to tell the future, to tell the future of a person with the help of a parrot. All these cards are stained because those cards had been used again and again. However, these tricks have stained with time. It means it has become useless because people have stopped believing in all these things. In this line, one can find the shift from idealism to realism, as the concept of fortune telling was quite popular in old times, but with the advent of modern science and technology, people believe less in these things. She thinks of the brown complexion girls who belong to the class of basket makers and manufacturers of bird catching traps. These girls were palm readers who offered in their monotonous voices to read the palms of those who wanted their fortunes told on the basis of the lines on their palms. Next, there used to come brown Kurua girls with their old eyes who read the palm of the people in light sing-song voices. The eyes of the girls are described as old either because of their experience in seeing the palms of people, or because of their poverty, or because of their brown color. The poet uses the word light sing-song voices for the way they talk to people. It is neither because they try to be as sweet as possible while reading the lines of palm, or because of their perfection, or because of the natural beauty in their voice. So, in this way, the poetess is describing her experience, particularly in Malabar during the time of noon. Next, there visited bangle sellers who spread their red and green and blue, all covered with the dust of road. Here, the poet is trying to show poverty as well as beauty in one place. The bangle sellers are poor, but their bangles are all colorful to attract the customers. The poetess then recalls the bangle sellers who had walked miles and miles of the dusty roads in order to sell their bangles of various colors. I mean red, green, and blue. Finally, she tells that these people used to travel long by foot, which resulted in cracks on the heels, and thus, while climbing the hill, their feet made strange noises when they reached Kamaladas' house. Having discussed all this regular passerby, the poet now talks about the strangers who also climbed the hill. These people, unlike those mentioned above, were unaware of the way. Next, he thinks of the strangers who used to come and peep into her house through the window curtains, but were unable to see anything because the rooms of the house were dark, while their eyes carried the heat and the brightness of sunlight in them. The strangers were suspicious about how they might be received and what treatment they might get from the inner inmates of the house. These strangers remained silent most of the time, but when they spoke, they did so in voices which were wild, like the sounds that are heard in a jungle. Now that she is married and living in a city, so life has become torture for her. The poetess then expresses the view that noontime in Malabar was not only a time for the visits of wild men, but also for wild thoughts to enter her mind, and for a wild desire for love making to arise in her mind. The poetess laments the fact that she is now living so far away from her Malabar home. She experienced an intense longing to go back there and to look at all those men at whom she used to look during her life there. The feeling that she is now so far away from that home is a torture to her. So this is the end of the summary and critical analysis of the poem. Thank you very much for listening me patiently. Thank you.